So the core message here is that medicine is about building a relationship of trust, that relationships are built on a feeling of mutual respect, and that feeling of respect is created by the experience the patients have with us. To give you an example, to really show how this is, we can look at why we do business with certain places. For example, I love bacon cheeseburgers. I really love them. Probably not the healthiest thing in the world to love, but I love them. And we got hamburger joint A and hamburger joint B, and if you take their bacon cheeseburger and you put them side by side, unlabeled, I would not be able to tell them apart. And so I go into hamburger joint A, and they sell their bacon cheeseburger for $2, and I come in there, and only about half the lights are on, and there's some garbage on the table, and the floor's kind of dirty, and I walk up to the counter, and people are wandering around behind the counter looking like they're trying to find a place to die because they work there, and the person's all, yeah, what can we do for you? And I go, yeah, could I have a bacon cheeseburger, and could you put extra pickles and hold the mustard? And they give me that look, and I'm like, oh good, they're going to spit in my food while I'm waiting for it. That's great. Or I go to hamburger joint B, and I come in and all the lights are on and the place is clean and everybody's happy and smiling, and I come up to the counter and I go, hi there, welcome to so-and-so, how can we help you today? And I go, yeah, could I have a bacon cheeseburger and with extra pickles and no mustard? And they go, sure, is there anything else we can do to help? And they charge $3. Where am I going to go to get my burger? I'm going to go pay $1 more for exactly the same product because of how I feel when I'm being served. And that is the key for us in creating this relationship in medicine, is that we can do all the right things medically and still leave somebody unhappy because of how we made them feel while we were doing it. Think about our homeless guy, George, in the story earlier. They did all the right things medically. He got checked in properly, his vitals were taken, they found out what the right problem was, they gave him the antibiotics that he needed for an infection, he didn't need anything stronger for pain than ibuprofen. But was he satisfied? And no, he wasn't, because of how he felt by the way that they went about giving care. And so even though that's an extreme example, we need to keep in mind that it's not enough for me to say, oh, I treated them respectfully. Well, that's interesting because they're telling us that they didn't feel treated respectfully. We need to be able to look for that disconnect and find ways to engage respectfully with people. So there's some other tools that we can use to building a respectful relationship, and I appreciate all your patience with all the lists. One of the first ones that is of key importance here is place the patient first. They're why we are here. But we said, though, that this really applies to everyone that we deal with, so I want to put this rule kind of for ourselves in another framework, which is live body in front of me or live body on the phone trumps other work. Really, if someone is there trying to engage with me and asking for my assistance, unless I have something that cannot wait, I need to be able to turn to them and say, what is it? How can I help you today? You know, sometimes we may have something that really needs to be done right now, right? Maybe I've got a patient at the pharmacy and they're waiting and I need to get this faxed over there to them. Then I need to at least take a moment and look at somebody and say, it'll be just a moment. I have to finish what I'm doing. There's someone waiting for it, and then I'm glad to do whatever I can to help you. Along with that is knowing our patients. This has got a couple levels to it. One is knowing the communities in which we serve. Our clinics are in very different communities. The community and the culture and the mixture of languages and other expectations in Crescent City, for example, is very different from the ones in Arcata or for Eureka or for Fortuna. And so we want to be thoughtful about the folks that we particularly see and serve and what their expectations are. And then on top of it, we want to try to get to know people whenever time allows as individual human beings. And a lot of that is just getting to know the little things and remembering things about them. And one of the cool things about our electronic medical record system is it's got a little thing in there that allows us, it's called My Sticky Notes, and you can actually put messages to yourself to remember things about them. Hey, didn't you say that your kid was going to be running in a race? How did that go? Oh, it was beautiful this weekend. You know, we went to the beach. What did you guys do? That kind of thing really shows people that we see them as a human being and not just as another case. Another part of this is being in the present, putting aside past interactions with others and being mindful of what is happening now. And there's two parts to this. One of the first parts is this idea of putting aside past interactions. To give you an example of what I'm talking about here, a number of years ago, I was called to front desk at one of the sites that I served. And there was a very large homeless gentleman there, and he had a metal shod walking stick, and he had his Bowie knife in his belt. because he lives outdoors and he feels the need for protection, but he was inside the clinic and very upset at something we had either done or he perceived we had done, and he was yelling abusively at staff and patients passing in the hallway, and our clinic coordinator had tried to de-escalate him, and he wasn't having any of that, and I tried to get him to come down and de-escalate and talk to us, and he wasn't having any of that, and finally the decision I had to make, and it's the one that I like the least, is I had to have him bodily removed from the clinic by the police. Did we fire him as a patient? No. Did we reach out to him and find him and say, hey, you know, there's cool behavior in the clinic and not so cool behavior, and when you come in, we know you got your stick and your knife and you need to protect yourself out there, but you don't need those in here, so you're going to have to leave them elsewhere when you come visit us. And we got something worked out with them. And so about a month later, I hadn't seen him since that incident. I was coming up to front desk for something, and he was there checking in. And there's a number of things I could have done. I could have creepily followed him around the clinic to make sure he behaved himself, or I could have slunk off down the hallway and avoided engaging with him altogether. And instead, what I chose to do, and what I'm glad I did, is I walked up to him and I shook his hand and talked to him by name and asked how he was doing today with no reference to what had happened before. He was incredibly appreciative, both of how hard we tried to work with him that day and that I was willing to come and talk to him like a regular person today. I would have missed a really good engagement with another human being had I held that past event against him. And it doesn't mean that we need to be forgetful of what happens. If he had come in with his knife and his walking stick, it might have been a different kind of engagement. But we need to be able to give that chance. Remember what we said about, you know, have we ever done or said something we later wish we hadn't done or said? That was his day. And I needed to be able to give him that chance so that he could come in and engage with us and care. The other part is about being present right now in the present moment for the people that we serve and the people that we serve with. And there are times in life, we all have full, rich personal lives. And babies get born, and houses get bought, and houses burn down, and jobs get got and lost, and graduations happen, and all sorts of things. And sometimes we have things in life that are so powerful and overwhelming, we can't be here and be present for the people that we serve, that deserve our full attention. And when that happens, we need to be honest and talk to our supervisors about it, because maybe we shouldn't be here today. Maybe we need to take some time. That's good for our health, and it's good for the people we serve with. To give you a personal example, a couple of years ago, my mother, who was only 69, she was young, and she was we always thought she was very healthy. She never smoked. She was only a moderate drinker. Never did anything like that, took care of herself, and she went on a trip with my stepfather and stepped down off of the RV and broke her femur, thickest bone in her body. And that seemed kind of weird. She didn't have any health problems, but they put her back together, and a month later she was sent home back to California and sitting in a chair trying to heal from this big surgery, and her pain level just kept going up and up. And I knew something was wrong, and I said, Mom, this isn't right. You need to talk to him about pain management. You need to go back to your doctor. Something's just not right because you're hurting all over now. And so she went to her doctor, and they found some lumps that they didn't like, and they sent them off for biopsy. And on September 30th, we found out that she might have cancer. And on October 9th, she died. And I took care of her through that and to the end, and took care of my family's needs afterwards. And I had to call my boss and say, I can't be there. And my boss said, of course you can't. We'll see you when you get back. Trust us. Talk to us. We're all human beings here together. Your supervisors will understand. They've had those kind of experiences themselves, and we need to support each other so that we can give that best care to the people that we serve and the people that we're working with every day. On top of that, we want to develop a work persona. What is that? Is that a fake personality? Is that me being all sunny and shiny all the time? No, but it is me being committed to bringing that best part of myself forward every day when I come to work, making that decision that that person that you were when you came to your interview, you weren't fake. You just brought the best you that you've got to put on, and we want to bring that and put that on for the people that we work with and work for every day. On top of that, we want to be a resource. What do I mean by being a resource? What does that mean? Well, what it really means, it's not having all the answers, but it means getting to know Open Door, getting to know what it is within my scope of duties of what I do, getting to know what other people do around me, so if someone needs something that they've got, I can get them connected, and knowing the people who would have the answers when I don't, and being able to connect people to that next stage of the journey. I don't have to have all the answers, but if I get them hooked up with the person who did, they'll remember me as a resource because I got them to that person. So we want to be able to do that for folks and show them whenever possible. We want to phrase these things in the form of choices so that people are empowered to choose in their own lives what they want for their health and their health care. On top of that, we need to be able to communicate effectively. This touches on several things. First of all, active listening, really hearing people, making sure that we're not thinking about other things while we're listening to them, restating what it is we think that they said, and making sure that we understand what it is that they're looking for so that we can help them better. It also means asking open-ended questions. What's an open-ended question? Well, that's a question in which somebody has to answer something other than yes or no, in which they need to tell us a story. An example, an open-ended question would be, how do you use your insulin after meals? They have to tell me about that. On the other hand, I could say, do you use your insulin after meals? Seems like the right answer to that question is yes, right? So we want to lead people into more communication with us so we can better understand their needs. On top of that, we want to be able to use common language. This can be really challenging. We work in a field in which everything that we talk about has really long names and lots of letters in them, and we use acronyms and names of payer programs and diagnostic terms and medical terms and so on. And we have to talk in shorthand to each other all day long in order to get through this. All of our sites have big long names, and so we've turned them into acronyms. Humboldt Open Door Clinic, HODC, Eureka Community Health Center, ECHC. We do this so much with each other that when we go to talk to patients, we often forget and continue to talk like that. And the problem is every human being has a basic instinct, which is to not look stupid in front of their fellow human beings. So when we talk to people in terms they don't understand, what happens is this. And inside their mind, they're thinking, wow, they use that word so casually, I'm probably supposed to know what that means, but I don't. And I don't want to look stupid in front of them or be a bother, so I'm going to keep nodding my head and hope that they stop talking soon. And maybe next time I'll talk to somebody different. And what happens is we lose the opportunity to give people information, potentially life-saving information, and we lose some of their trust and that ability to have that relationship that we're looking for. On top of that, there's building rapport. We need to engage with folks in a way that they know that we see them as human. And that can be as simple as the kind of conversations you have maybe if you're sitting next to a stranger on the plane or standing with them for a while in a line or an elevator. Those kind of common basic things. Yeah, this weekend we went walking outdoors, there was this whole thing going on in the park. You guys do anything cool? That simple stuff shows people that we see them as human beings. So, who are our members? We've been talking about people being members of the care team, and here we've been really focused on patients, but there's other people that are members that we also want to think about as we relate to folks every day. Along with patients, there's folks that are like patient advocates, family members, caregivers, and other people who advocate with or for the patient or come in with them for visits. On top of that, there's community partners, folks from the emergency room, county mental health, social services, and other providers in the community with whom we network and hook patients up for comprehensive care. There's also vendors. We need Band-Aids, we need light bulbs, we need heart machines and other stuff to do what we do. We need those medications. So, and those folks who are coming in as vendors, very often they are community members as well. They may be patients, or they may be considering being patients of ours or connected to those who are. And the other members we want to think about are our coworkers. After all, you see your patients only a few times a year, but your coworkers know where you keep your lunch, and we need each other. A big part of what we do here is team. No one of us has what everyone needs when they come in. It takes all of us together to be a team, and we can be a powerful force for love and good in the world when we work together, when we trust each other, when we engage together. One more list. I appreciate you guys being so patient with this. A few more qualities that really can help with relationships. First and foremost is friendliness. It's associated with basic politeness and courtesy, and what I'm really talking there is, hi there, welcome to Open Door. Thank you for coming in today. What can we do to help you? Would you come this way, please? Well, it looks like we've taken care of all your needs. Is there anything else I can do to help? That simple politeness in tone and action really shows people that we see them as our fellow humans. On top of that is empathy. What are we really talking about here? People need to know that we get that they've got other circumstances in their lives besides their health care. For example, the number one right medical treatment for a given patient may not be the number one right choice for them as a human being. For example, we've got medical treatment number one, 98% sure that it will work, but it's not covered by their insurance and it's very expensive. Then we've got choice number two, about 75% sure it'll work, but it's totally covered by their insurance, and the patient has 2 kids that they're paying for their way through college. Choice number 1 may not be the right choice for them as a human being because they have children to think about, they have other priorities, and they need to know that we get that and that we support them in the choices that they make. Additionally, there's fairness. What are we really talking about here? I feel like they treat me different because I'm on pain medication. I feel like they treat me different because I'm overweight. I feel like they treat me different because I don't speak English. I feel like they treat me different because I'm poor. I feel like they treat me different because I'm a woman, or because I'm gay, or because I'm of a different color. No one anywhere in the world should ever feel that. And here at Open Door, I think we do a fantastic job of ensuring that people don't. But when we have to do things different, when we do things out of the normal routine, we need to explain ourselves to them lest they think that we're prejudiced against them, because they may have experienced prejudice many other places in the community. For example, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, think of our story with George earlier today. The medical assistant put on gloves before she took his vitals. Why? The fact is, she put on gloves because he had a potentially infectious, unknown problem with his skin on his arm, and we have a policy and a procedure that says she must put on gloves for her protection, for the patient's protection, and for the protection of other patients. But she didn't explain herself. She didn't explain why she did it. So when she did that, how did it make George feel? Like he was dirty, like he was unclean, like he wasn't worth touching. We need to explain ourselves when, because of someone's financial situation or social situation or medical situation, we have to change the routine. We need to explain it to them so that they know that we're not trying to treat them unfairly or differently, that we still see them as equal human beings. On top of that, they need to have confidence in us. They need to see that we're confident in what we do and what we share and what we present. And in order to do that, we need to show ourselves as being resources. And again, that's not having all the answers, but giving them answers when we have them, getting answers for them when we don't, and connecting them to the people who might have the answers that they're looking for. On top of that, patients want to feel like they have control. They want to feel that their input, their needs and their wants weigh in on the decisions and the outcomes. And one of the best ways we can do that is by offering them choices. So, we can do this one thing, which you're not liking much, but it's covered by your insurance. We can do this other thing that may or may not be covered, but I'm glad to go ahead and set that up for you. Or maybe we do nothing, because right now, maybe this isn't a priority for you. What would you like to do? Another way that we can get people's input and make sure that they feel like they have say in their health care is to ask them questions. So what would you like to do? Especially if people are unhappy or uncomfortable with the care that we're giving them, one of the best questions I can ask is, so what do you think is a good resolution to this situation? I have been amazed again and again when I ask people that, they come up with ideas that I wouldn't have come up with on my own and that I could legally do and that we could help them with. So bringing them in as members of care.